Hey everybody, hope you're having a great day. Happy birthday. Trigger warning, this is going to be a little bit of a addiction recovery drug type video. So if drugs trigger you or drug abuse triggers you, go ahead and leave because we're going to get into it. I'm going to share a few stories from my past and people that I know. And I've okayed this. I mean, some of these people I do talk to still, some I don't. But it's my experience too, so I'm going to share it with you to help share awareness about how America is in an opioid crisis right now. We are in a drug epidemic right now, y'all. Nobody seems to realize that, especially with like COVID going on and stuff. But we are in a severe opioid crisis. And the drugs, not just opioids, cocaine, crack, meth, ice, all these things have taken America over. We have children as young as 6, 7 years old who are living in homes watching or being given these drugs. We have children out on the streets at 10, 11 years old selling their bodies so their parents can get high. America has gotten very addicted, guys. Now, the first story I'm going to tell you is about a friend of mine named TJ. All names have been changed, obviously. So there's your trigger warning. Here it is again. Trigger warning. It's going to be about drugs and alcohol. So I had a friend named TJ. TJ had a very addictive personality, just like I used to. You know, I still fight addiction every day. I do. I've been clean for almost 10 years of opioids and cocaine. It's a very hard fight. And TJ was the kind of person that he had a very addictive personality. If you gave him a substance, he would have to do it 10 times harder than normal. Does that make sense? Like if he got a Percocet 5, he wanted 20 of them. If he got a Roxy 15, he wanted 15 of them. He couldn't just take one, is what I'm saying. He had to take more and more. And this eventually would ruin his life. And it did. TJ, a few years ago, was charged with manslaughter because TJ had a few friends over at his home one night while him and 3 other people were sitting together shooting up drugs. I'm trying to be careful what I say on YouTube, even though I don't get paid on YouTube, but I'm still trying to be careful that I don't trigger y'all too hard, okay? But they're sitting there shooting up drugs, and one of TJ's friends looks at TJ and says, "I can't hit the vein, will you help me?" Now this is the point where TJ should have said, "No, absolutely not." But he did not say that. TJ said, "Sure," and he obliged and he helped him. TJ pushed the plunger of heroin into his friend's arm. Once the heroin hit, his friend fell over, passed out. They assumed he went into what we call the sleep phase of a heroin high, or the dozing off, the doning out, you know. We call it like a methadone high because it's called doning out. Now, when this friend dones out like that, TJ assumes he's just feeling the high. About 15, 20 minutes later, he looks blue. TJ starts to freak out and tries to find a pulse, can't find a pulse. He starts to call 911. As he's on the phone with 911, they're telling him, give him CPR, try this, try that, nothing's working. Now he's purple. TJ's friend dies right there in his arms. The police, the ambulance show up. You know, EMTs all run into the home, and they start trying to do what they can do, and they let him know that it's too late. He's gone. Then they walk over, and they put the cuffs on TJ. TJ says, whoa, what are you arresting me for? I didn't do anything. You know, I didn't kill this man. This man was my friend. Police department says, you already admitted to the 911 operator. You already said, and you told the detective that y'all were shooting up and you pushed the plunger. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, how can they charge someone with that? Let me tell you something. The laws have changed in many states, and now it's manslaughter, possible murder. So TJ gets a manslaughter charge and pulls 3.5 years in prison, where he is beat. He goes through a lot. He was raped 3 times. TJ comes out and he's sober. He's clean. But his mind isn't. His mind is now traumatically been destructed. his mind has been completely messed up now at this point. So before he was using drugs, for the high, for the fun, for the fix of it. Now he wants to use drugs to block out all the traumatic experiences he suffered. Now, TJ had a sponsor during that time, and he calls the sponsor, and the sponsor says, do not do anything, please. I'll come get you. We will go to a meeting. Don't do anything. By the time the sponsor got there, TJ was gone. He had just gotten out of prison, like I said, for 3.5 years for manslaughter. TJ goes to his grandma's house. He rummages through her medicine cabinet. He found her oxycodone. She tells him if he takes it, she's done with him. She's cutting him off because she's enabled him all his life. She's paid his car payment, his rent, give him money for drugs. She's given him money for food, clothes. She's always enabled TJ because she loves him. Y'all, enabling is not love. You hear that from me right now. I have been enabled and I have been the enabler. Enabling is not love. You can get someone that you love, you can get them hurt or worse by enabling them. Look at Eugenia Cooney. That is not love. That's enabling. What her mother and her family does. Now, TJ leaves his grandmother's house and he takes the medicine. He goes to his mom's house. He goes through her medicine cabinet. He finds the fentanyl patches. He finds everything he's looking for, the Xanax. He leaves. He goes to a known crack house and trades out because he doesn't have any cash. He's already blown through all of his cash. His mom calls me, and I tell her, Miss Mary, what did they tell us before he ever got out of prison? Back when he was doing rehab the first time. They said any drugs, substances, medicines, I don't care if it's Tylenol, take it out the house. It's a trigger. Do not leave any kind of drug or alcohol or any kind of substance in that home. Not even CBD. Not even kratom. None of that stuff. Take it, remove it from the home. Do not have it there. They didn't listen. They left all their oxycodone, their hydrocodone, fentanyl patches, their Xanax, their phenobarbital, all that stuff. They left it in the medicine cabinet, so that's the first place he went. And he got it. Like I said, he gets to the crack house, he trades it out, he gets crack, he gets coke. He binges for about 4 days. The law finally calls us. They had him. He was breaking into a pharmacy. He had messed his hand up. When he left the pharmacy, trying to run from police, he ran over a man. He actually ran over a man and killed him. We tried so hard. We tried so hard to help TJ. But again, you can't help somebody if they don't want to help themselves. And I don't say that to be mean, but I say that because I've watched my own family die of these drugs. I have personally dealt with these drugs myself. Just because I haven't done crack or ice or any of that stuff doesn't mean I'm not an addict. I've done coke, pills, alcohol, weed, all that stuff. I'm still an addict. Just because my amounts were less and because I didn't get in trouble for it, for this or that, I'm no better. I'm the same kind of addict that TJ is. If you're a shopaholic, if you're a gambler, if you're a drug user, if you're an alcoholic, if you're whatever, you're the same kind of addict as I am. You're no better or no worse. An addict is an addict is an addict. Yes, a shopaholic can blow their whole paycheck just as fast as I could blow my whole paycheck on a drug. An alcoholic can rip their whole family apart and blow their whole rent payment on alcohol just as a gambler can in a casino. You see what I'm saying here? An addict is an addict is an addict. It's the same thing. So don't come into my comments with, yeah, but me shoplifting at Walmart is not like you taking pain pills for a year. Yes, it is. You are putting yourself at risk. You're putting your family at risk. You are stealing from a store and you're addicted to it. If you're shoplifting and you have to do it because you're addicted to it, yes, you're an addict. If you're lying to people on a daily basis because you get off on lying and you just can't stop, you're addicted to lying. We can become addicted to so many things, guys. Y'all just don't realize. I can become addicted to getting my hair done every 2 weeks, every week. And then if I miss a week, oh gosh, I'm freaking out because I have to have it done, because I have to have it this way, and I feel like I can't live without it. That's becoming addicted. If I take these Tylenol, Tylenol. If I have Tylenol every day, morning, noon, and night, and I do this for months and months and months, and then one day when I don't have it, I'm ill, I got diarrhea, I'm aggravated, I don't want to go to school, don't want to go to work, I just don't want to do shit. I've become addicted. Now let me tell you this. Back when I was a teenager, I had gotten started on smoking weed on grass, okay? I smoked grass morning, noon, and night. Had to have it to eat. Had to have it to sleep. Had to have it to do this, to do that, to focus on my schoolwork, to go to school, to be in large groups of people at school, to go to practice. I got so hooked on that high to where I could be around people and feel normal. Now, when you start using an addiction to feel normal, that's when you really start to realize, okay, I'm hooked. And other people see it too. Because if you have to have this to feel normal, you're addicted to it. If you have to have this to feel normal, you're addicted to it. If you got to have alcohol to feel normal, you're addicted to it. If you have to take an oxycodone every morning to feel normal, you're addicted to it. And that's how I was on marijuana. So when I quit smoking marijuana, I decided one day, I'm done with this. I can't do this anymore. I'm sick of it. I can't live this way. I got to take a drug test soon because I want to get this good job. I'm done having this as my crutch. So I quit. The next morning, I'm antsy. I'm sweating. I'm craving it like I've never craved nothing before. I'm thinking, how am I going to go do this essay in front of the whole class if I don't smoke? I have to smoke. And all these things in my brain start going around about why I have to have it. Now I don't have no appetite because I'm not smoking. Now I can't sleep at all night long because I'm not smoking, because I have become addicted to it. Now I'm being hateful to my family because I don't have it. I'm addicted. So I go to a family member and I tell them, look, I have gotten so hooked on this stuff that I can't feel normal without it. And they were like, look, you need to wean down, slowly wean down, because I was very young and I didn't want to get in trouble with my parents. So I just quit. I went cold turkey, went through the withdrawals. Well, somebody at my school said, you can't get hooked on weed. You can. You get hooked on the routine of smoking the weed, the effects that it gives you, that not just the high that you get, but the comfort you get where you're like, just like it eased my anxiety. I was able to go out in large crowds. Well, now I can't, because I'm not smoking. You see what I'm saying? It's affected me. Now I can't feel normal anymore. Now I'm have so much anxiety and I'm stressed out. I'm irritated, irritable, frustrated, aggressive. Until finally I was able to get it out my system, and it took me like 3 weeks to get back to normal. I still didn't sleep right for a good month. Now, later on, I ended up smoking weed again. And that time I got rehooked right back on it. When I went to my doctor's appointment, you know what they told me? They did a piss test. They drug tested me. They said, where did you get the heroin from? I'm like, what? What heroin? I've never done heroin a day in my life. Never. What do you mean heroin? He said, you've tested positive. I was 21 years old. I said, I have never touched heroin. Something's wrong here. The test is wrong. It's been laced. Something's up. He said, I'm telling you, we can redo it. And they had a little cup with the thing on it. Redid it. It showed positive again. I'm like, what? How? He said, what drugs have you used? Of course, I lied at first. I don't do anything. He said, you already tested positive for marijuana, so stop lying. You already tested positive for heroin, so stop lying. He thought I was a full-blown heroin addict. He said, you ain't got no track marks. So are you snorting it? Are you taking it? What are you doing with it? Are you smoking it? And I'm like, smoking it? You can smoke that? He said, yeah, they lace it in weed all the time. And then it dawned on me. The dealer that I was getting it from was a very bad area, and they did sell heroin, fentanyl, cocaine. They sold all that stuff. And when I asked my friend that I got it through, I said, what not are they putting this? And he was like, oh, sometimes they stomp it down with fentanyl, sometimes they stomp it down with coke or dust or liquid Percocet. I'm like, so I've been smoking that? Yes. So if you smoke weed out here on the streets that you're buying from a dealer, you too can be smoking heroin, fentanyl, morphine, liquid Percocet, liquid Lorcet, Xanax, dust. Have you noticed? Did y'all see a while back, a few years ago, where there was like people dropping like flies from fentanyl? Because fentanyl, it just takes a small amount to kill somebody. And dealers were putting just a small amount in the weed, the coke, the crack, to give a buzz. It gives you a really good, like strong high to an addict. A real big high. But it only takes the wrong amount to kill you. So the dealers figured, hey, we can use just a little bit and give them that good high and charge them more and have more product to give and make more money. So they use less product, they sell more, they're making more money. But a cost came with that, and that was the fact that tons of people overdosed. Tons of people were found dead and were dropping like flies. 3 girls that I went to high school with were found. One girl that I went to high school with, and I want to pull this article up one day and talk about it because she was a sweetheart, but I don't want to disrespect her family. So I'm not going to say the name or where or nothing like that. I'm just going to tell you the story. The night before she was found, she had her little 6-week-old baby, and she had her 4-year-old daughter. And they were in their own home, and her boyfriend hadn't got off work yet. He didn't even know that she was using these substances like she was. And she had just had a baby a month prior, and he thought she was clean and sober. She was doing it behind his back. I'm sorry about all the noise, y'all. The guys are scraping the road out here. But she was using drugs behind his back. Now, he didn't use drugs. He drank occasionally. But he stopped drinking so he wouldn't trigger her to want to use anything. Now, she had her baby. She came home. She was supposed to be clean. She wasn't. She went to somewhere down the road. She took her 2 kids to the dealer's house. She got her a little bit of cocaine, a couple of Xanax to come down with. She went back home. Well, that evening she used. About 2 o'clock in the morning. What is they doing out? Oh, they're scraping the road. Okay, 2 o'clock in the morning. That's the estimated time, or her time of death, basically. She had her 4-year-old daughter. Now, she used up her cocaine. She took her a few Xanax to go to bed with to calm down. She goes and gets into bed. She puts her 4-year-old in this arm, and she has her 6-week-old in this arm. The next morning, her 4-year-old daughter wakes up and finds her there like that. Excuse me, her daughter was 6. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Her daughter was 6. Her daughter, 6 years old, calls the grandmother. And the grandmother, says, I'll be right there. This was only like 3 years ago. Grandmother gets there. They call 911. Law gets there. She's dead. The poor little daughter, 6-year-old daughter, had to find her mother like that. Could you imagine how hard that was? So I had to switch rooms to get away from the noise. So you can imagine how that child felt finding her mother deceased like that with her baby in her arm. That is so awful. Now these little girls are growing up without a mother. It really makes you think about how bad addiction is in America. And it's not just drugs, guys. It's gambling, it's lottery, it's shopping, it's serial killers, it's pedophilia. We have a lot of predators out here who are addicted to hurting children. We have to have help here in America. We've got to have some kind of someone to help us. And I don't know who that person would be. I don't know where we could get that help from. But we need it. And we need it ASAP. We need House of Representatives, Congress, I don't know, President. We need somebody to step up and help us fight the war on these things. Not just drugs, but the war on pedophilia. Pedophilia has gotten 100 times worse since our cell phones since we've gotten this new technology, basically, with all these apps that we can interact with and talk to each other with. Now it's so easy for a pedophile to just pull that phone out and get on an app and start talking to a child. And hey, meet me outside, or oh, you go to that school? Well, I'll go there tomorrow and I'll meet you there. It's just too easy for predators to get to children and to get to women or men who have children. Families who have children. So the next story I'm going to tell you is a little closer to home. This is about my own first cousin. And if I start crying, I'm sorry. I'm going to try not to cry. So, our dads were brothers. I had a little cousin. We were exactly 10 years apart. So, I had to take a moment. My cousin was about 22 years old. The sweetest boy in the world. He never showed signs, which a lot of people don't show signs, of addiction or issues at a young age. At a baby, he was very smart. He, crawled early. He started speaking before he was a year old. By the time he was 1.5, he was saying almost full sentences. He was singing song lyrics. I know when he was almost 2, he was singing Sheryl Crow, If It Makes You Happy. He could sing that whole song by heart at 2 years old. By 3, he was completely doing anything that a 10-year-old could do, except he was smaller. He could play in the yard by himself. Of course, we supervise him, but he could feed the dogs. He could play with the chickens. He could fish. He could throw a rod and reel at 3 years old. He could tie his own shoes. He could do anything. And he had such a drive, such a strong willpower to do his best at everything. And so smart. He was very intelligent. Once he got to school, he made straight A's. Well, he had a couple of family members on his opposite side who dealt with issues of addiction. And we had a couple of family members on our side who dealt with addiction issues. But with him, when he was about 14, he started smoking. When he was about younger than that, he was smoking marijuana. He went from smoking marijuana to buying and selling marijuana. By the time he was 13, 14, 15. At 15 years old, he was buying, selling, trading marijuana. He was drinking by 15. So for all you parents who think, oh, well, my child is just drinking a little bit on the weekend, or all they're doing is smoking weed, so I can handle that, I can deal with that. Stop it. Stop it now. And for all you parents who say, well, they're doing it at home with me, so it's okay. No, it's not. You shouldn't be allowing your child to do it anywhere, especially at home with you, because you should be setting a better example for that child and giving them a chance to make better decisions. Because if my cousin had have had a better, stable environment during these times, he might have had a better shot. And I'm not putting the blame on anyone, but I'm just saying if the family allows this stuff to be around the child, then the child's going to think it's normal and that it's okay. So he felt like it was okay to do those things. So eventually, by the time he was 18, he was already finding pain pills. By the time he was 19, he was buying and selling pain pills, marijuana, cocaine. By the time he was 20, he was full blown, doing anything he could get his hands on. He was still that loving person that we all knew and loved. He would give you the shirt off his back. But once he got about 20, that's when the stealing started. That's when the self-respect and respect for others kind of went out the window. And a new version of him formed. And it was a version of him that I'd never seen before. Even when he had done things before that I didn't agree with, it was never to hurt anyone else, and it usually didn't hurt anyone else. But once he got to this point, now he was stealing from our grandparents. Now he was stealing from his own parents, stealing from others, getting high anywhere and everywhere he could, getting in trouble with the law, of course, because that comes with it. So by the time he was 21, he had a little bit of a record. He had pissed off the wrong dealers from time to time. He had robbed a couple of dealers. And he had gotten this attitude of he thought he was untouchable. And because he was kind of a big guy, he thought that he could just fight off anybody. And that he was stronger, faster, and he was untouchable. So when he was 22 years old, I'm sitting in my house one night and I get a call from him. And he's telling me, now I didn't realize how addicted, I knew he was an addict. Of course, a lot of us are. But I didn't know how bad it had gotten. Because I hadn't been around him a whole bunch at this point. Now, we grew up together like this. Even though my parents were a lot more stricter than his parents. With that said, okay. So he calls me up one night and he's like, look, can you come pick me up? I need some food, gas, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, why do you need gas money if you don't have a car? Well, my friend needs a car. I need some gas for their car. I'm like, okay, I'll be there in a minute. I was an enabler. I would enable him. I would give him whatever I could to help. So he was like, I'm sitting here, I'm withdrawing, I'm hurting, I'm supposed to go to rehab tomorrow. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that, okay. So I'd go over there and I'd take him cigarettes, gas, food, money, whatever he needed, and I didn't think that he was spending it on drugs. I didn't think he was using it to go get high, especially with him going to rehab the next day. But as soon as he got the money and stuff, he was gone. He never went to rehab the next day. That was all a lie. A couple of days later, another cousin of ours, he robbed her. Him and another friend of his. About 2 weeks later, he robbed our papa. What he did was he stole his guns, took them to a dealer, traded them for drugs, and then when my papa got home, he didn't know who took the guns. He didn't know who took his money. So Papa ends up later on finding out through the grapevine that he has to go to a dealer and buy his stuff back. Or file a police report, and he didn't want to do that to his own grandson. Now, before my grandma died, my cousin was the apple of her eyeball. Do you hear me? She loved my cousin like he was her own son. He could do no wrong in her eyes. He was the golden child. Now, my grandma was an amazing woman. Don't get me wrong, I'm not bashing her. But I'm just saying she loved us all. But with that baby, the baby of the family, they always baby the baby. And that's what he was. He was the baby. And he was the only boy for years. Him and another cousin were the only two boys in our family for years. So they were the babies. Well, she, was the kind of grandma who, when he'd get up and get on the bus, go to school, by the time he'd get to the schoolhouse, he'd call my grandma saying he was sick. People were bullying him. The teachers were bullying him. He didn't have nothing to eat, or he got mud on his clothes, whatever excuse, he was throwing up, he didn't have no medicine, whatever excuse he could use to get out of school, he would use. He eventually would use these excuses to not work a job too. And this boy was so talented. He could sing, he could play guitar, he could do all kinds of construction work, welding. He could do anything he wanted. But he would make excuses once he got there to come back home. And she would always go get him and bring him back home and doctor him up and make him better. She was his enabler. After years of her teaching us not to be enablers, and after years of her raising my father to be the good man that he is, she enables my cousin to do these things. And it's just unfortunate because she felt like she was doing the right thing by supporting him, but she was enabling. So my cousin got that only child syndrome where everything was everybody else's fault. Nothing was ever his fault. He could rob a store and steal cigarettes, steal whatever. And somehow it was not his fault. Ever. When he would go to jail, that wasn't his fault. When he'd get suspended, that wasn't his fault. When he would rob the dope dealer and the dope dealer would come down by the house spraying guns, that wasn't his fault. They were just after him. It got really bad. So my grandma ended up getting sick, and this was the day that my cousin actually got out of jail. And he had missed several months of her life that she had left. So on her deathbed, The same day he got out of jail, he came to the hospital and he broke down. And we broke down together. And he said, I feel so guilty that I've missed out so much on my grandma's life and on your life, all of our lives. And we just talked about how he could change it and make it better. And he made all the promises about how he was and how he was getting fresh out of jail and he was clean and sober and was going to do better and do right. And it looked like for a minute like he was. But he went right back to smoking weed. He went right back to drinking, and he went right back to using. Except now he was using anything and everything that he could get his hands on, including keyboard duster. Parents, here's another tip for you. If you got keyboard duster in your house and it keeps disappearing, more than likely somebody's huffing it or smoking it, usually huffing it. But it gets them very, very high, and it's very flammable. So he would huff that stuff, and it messed his lungs up really bad a couple times. Put him in the hospital. So let's get towards the end here. So my mama had been very sick. She had had cancer. She had had a heart attack. She had had a lot of bad things happen to her all within a few months. And the day that my mama went into the hospital, the last time, she was able to talk. She was coherent and able to talk to me and stuff. And she asked me where my cousin was, if I had seen him, how he was doing. And I told her as far as I knew, he was doing okay. I didn't know if he was. I lied to her because I didn't want her to worry, because she loved my cousin like her own son. My mama loved him, like I said, like he was her own son. We were like this growing up. He was like my brother. Within a few days, my mother's condition deteriorated shockingly, and we were all surprised because we thought she was going to come out of surgery and be okay, but she wasn't. She came out of surgery and was barely conscious. As she's going in and out of consciousness during this time, I get a phone call that my cousin is missing and hadn't been seen for a couple of days, or a whole day at that point, and that people, didn't know if he was out with a girl or if he was just out on a binge or what was going on. But normally he would always call home to somebody in the family for a ride, a cigarette, gas, whatever it may be, or to go pick him up from wherever he had been, and that didn't happen. His cell phone was not, being answered. He wasn't texting, and that was weird. His social media wasn't being used, and that was weird. Because even throughout his addictions, he always got on Facebook. He always texted and called his family. So while my mama was talking to me, one of the last times that she was conscious, she asked me about him again, and I couldn't tell her. I just could not tell her that he was missing. I couldn't tell her what was going on. And I still had hope that we'd find him too. And I still had hope that she would be okay. But by that night, her health deteriorated like that, and she was almost gone by that night. And I was getting the text that my cousin still hadn't been found. I stayed with her most of the night, and the next morning I came on back home so I could try to get some clean clothes on and go back. While I was at home getting my clothes together, I got a text from my dad, who was at the hospital, saying that it had gotten really bad and that she had passed. So I dart back up there. And while I'm on the way back up there, we find out that a full-blown missing person search has been formed for my cousin, because he has not been heard from in, several days, and we think something bad's happened, and the people who were with him have now been found alive without him. So the last people that he was seen on camera with were alive, but they didn't have him with them. So I get back to the hospital. I say my goodbyes to my mother's vessel, basically, because she wasn't there. One of the hardest things in life is not getting to say goodbye to somebody, But it's one thing when it's one person you love. But when you find out it's another person and then another person that you don't get to say goodbye to, within a matter of minutes of seeing them. It's so hard. So I had to go say goodbye to her, talk about what arrangements were going to be made. And while I'm doing that, I'm getting the text that they think they found a body near where we live, and it's of a male. And so that I'm starting to freak out about that, thinking within minutes of her. And then come to find out it wasn't him. So that built my hope back up. And for whatever reason, I let my hope skyrocket into thinking that he was going to be found. And he was going to be alive and just out having fun, partying, being a 22-year-old, acting up or whatnot. I get back home and I try to get my head together, and then I have to go to work because I have bills to pay. And then the next morning, I'm back home, and then I get the call that they're doing another missing persons party. They're going to look for a search party has been formed, and they're going to look for him. And I'm still trying to wrap my head around losing my mama like that, because that just didn't make no sense either. And it was about another day or so of all of us looking that we found out another body had been discovered near the other area where one had been discovered. And this time, the male that was found was wearing similar clothes to what my cousin was wearing. And it was out in the middle of a field. I just still can't wrap my head around this. He was seen on camera going to a store in this little country area, and he walks in and he tells the cashier to give him a carton of cigarettes. He steals the carton of cigarettes and he runs out. He runs out the store. The two people that's with him are there too. We still to this day don't know what happened from when he ran out that store with those two people and left to what happened after that. They claim that they don't know what happened. They claim that he ran without them because they were in a car. They were in a vehicle. They claim that he didn't get in the vehicle, that he ran off on foot. Bystanders say that he got in the vehicle and they left. So we don't know. And police haven't really investigated it. Why? Because he was an addict. They don't. In areas like that, small town areas, if you get the reputation of being a drug addict, a prostitute, an alcoholic, then police don't care. If you go to the hospital, they don't care. It's just like, oh, that's just another junkie. That's how they look at it. Even though that's your family. And yes, they've done some bad things, but we all have. And it doesn't make that person any less than you or me or anyone else who's not getting high, Their case is still just as important as ours. And so police go out there and they get the body and they take it into the medical examiner's, and they check it and they confirm that it is in fact my cousin who had been found. And they say that they're going to do an autopsy. So they do one. And the results come back and they're inconclusive. They can't give nobody a reason of why he's dead. They have no medical reason. They say that all his organs look perfectly fine, that he had Suboxone, cocaine, and alcohol in his system, but it wasn't high amounts. Now, he had a tolerance very high. He had a very, very high, he could do a lot. And for him to have such a low tolerance, such a low amount in his system, police didn't think that he overdosed. Now, the medical examiner did not think that he overdosed. Police tried to say, we think he overdosed. He stole the cigarettes, ran out into a field, overdosed on something. But the medical examiner said, no, he did not overdose. He did not commit suicide, but we don't know what happened. We asked them, did you find bullets? Did you find any kind of markings, bruisings? Well, they say because he was out there for almost 2 weeks that the animals had, messed with his body. And the weather, we had had a hurricane the week prior, all the rain that came through. His body got badly deteriorated from the animals and the weather. And medical examiners said they couldn't determine what happened. Now, they do another autopsy. And this time, they start an investigation. And they say that the murder investigation possibly is going to be back open. But then that medical report says inconclusive too. So why would they be starting that investigation back up? I don't know. We haven't heard another thing about it because none of them will tell us anything. It's been 3 years now, and we haven't heard anything. Now, I do know in a lot of cases in that area, they don't have proper training. They don't have updated equipment. They contaminate crime scenes horribly because they don't wear gloves. They don't take pictures. They don't dust for anything. They don't take shoe molds, mud for nothing. They don't take forensic evidence. They don't do anything. This is one of these small towns that will literally, the cops will come out, find a body, they'll pick it up and put it in the car and leave. Or the ambulance will go out there and get it. Instead of the coroner or a forensic team like you see on TV, they don't do that. So the body gets contaminated. They didn't take pictures before they moved it. And that hurts the case. Well, then rumors start to fly. And there's these rumors going around that he pissed off a drug dealer and that drug dealer took him out in the field and shot him. Police say that they spoke to the person that's being accused and that they don't believe it and that they know this guy's a big-time drug dealer and they know he's dangerous, but they don't believe it. Now, here's the twist. The drug dealer who is... That's my dog. The drug dealer who is accused of killing my cousin was dating the girl who worked at the store that he robbed for cigarettes. Y'all, look what this dog is doing. She's got her a spoon, and she's slinging it on the floor and picking it up, playing with it. She's so darn cute. I love her. So this drug dealer has a relationship, basically is married, to the girl working at the store. They live together. They have children together. They're together in a relationship. So then I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. Let's go back a minute. Well, then a detective tells us that the girl who worked in the store, because my cousin went in that store a lot. She recognized him. He didn't have his face covered. He just went in there, got the carton of cigarettes, stole them, and left. Well, now a detective is telling us that the girlfriend didn't call police first. She called her boyfriend, her drug dealer boyfriend. Why would she do that? Why would she not call police? Is it not store policy? Store policy for you to call police when you get robbed or the store gets robbed? You think it's supposed to be. It is. You're supposed to call police and file the report. She did not. She, based on her phone records, because they actually managed to get some little bit of police work done, she tells them. She called her boyfriend first, and she told him who it was and what he did, and her boyfriend said that he would take care of it. He had never been arrested for any of this. They, as far as I know, haven't even done a full-blown interview, interrogation, nothing. So then I find out later on that this same drug dealer works with police. Go figure, huh? That's the Carolinas for you, baby. That's the Carolinas for you. Meanwhile, get this. My cousin was narking for the same police. My cousin had been getting paid by these drug detectives to go into different areas and buy drugs. And then he could keep the money. He had told several family members about it, but when I asked about it, he denied it. Because he knows, I would never want him to do that because I don't trust police. Especially not the police in that small town. That small town is crooked as hell. I mean, crooked. So when I found that out, I was like, wow, I can't believe all this twisted, crazy stuff. Well, the next shocker. My aunt, his mother, my cousin's mother, she's not blood related to us, she gets on Facebook one day, makes a video, and she's crying because she's just found out that the medical examiner has cremated his body. Yeah, they take his body to Raleigh and they cremate it after the last examination. And then they call her to come pick it up. So she's in the parking lot of this place, and she's on Facebook, like Facebook Live, or recording, doing a video, and she's all to hell crying. And she says, my baby is in there, my baby is in there. And people, had commented, what's going on. And she says that they had cremated his body, that she didn't even get to see him. She never got to see him. So how did they identify him if his parents and family and nobody's seen his body? I thought you always had to have, if there was family available, one of the family members had to try to go in and identify a body. But they didn't allow that. Then they cremate him without anybody knowing. But that's the Carolinas for you, baby. Y'all wonder why I say that all the time. That's why, because they're crooked. Now, I don't know if this was some kind of police cover-up. I don't know if this was a drug dealer cover-up. I don't know if my cousin knew more than he should have known. I don't know. We still have not heard anything else about this. There's no open investigation. Nothing. But if you think that's weird, we're fixing to get weirder. We're 46 minutes into this. I told you guys I had a rough life. I've had a rough life, and I meant it when I told you that. And while people say I have interesting stories, some of them are gruesome and horrible. But let's get to the next one. And if there's ever any updates, I'll let you guys know. So let's talk about my other cousin. Our dads were also brothers. One day, I get a call that my cousin was found hanging in his home on Mother's Day. This is another cousin that I was very close to growing up. We were like siblings. Very, very sweet, very strong-minded, good guy all around. He was found hanging by a pull-up bar in his home that he had for exercising. He had been dating a girl and had a roommate who stayed with him in his home. His parents stayed next door to them. He had told his sister the day before they went to go buy a Mother's Day gift for their mother, and he couldn't wait to give it to her the next day on Mother's Day. Well, the next day, the girlfriend calls his parents and says that she has found him, so they call, because they're at church, they call my dad and they call police to go and check on him, and when my dad and police get there, he's deceased. Now, the problem with this is, my cousin was taller than 6'3". He was like 6'5", 6'6", somewhere in there. He's very, very tall. The rope was loose on his neck. There were signs of a struggle in the home. But the other part of this is, the night before, when I looked at his girlfriend's Facebook page, she had been posting, now I'm not alleging anything, I'm just saying what happened. She had been posting really, really angry posts and saying things like, when I cut you off, I cut you the fuck off for good. And all these really bad posts about breaking up and all this stuff. And I'm like, why was she posting all that? Now, these posts were like 5:30 in the morning. He was found at 9-something in the morning. Coroner said he had passed away at 1. So these posts were after he passed away. Now, with these people in his home, everybody says they didn't hear anything. He was found almost in the hallway, in a doorway where a pull-up bar hung. But her in the living room, supposedly on a couch, she didn't hear or see anything, with the door right adjacent from her. And the other people who were in the home claimed they didn't hear anything. So, of course, in small towns, little rumors, are going to start flying around. And they did. And we start hearing that this person was involved, that she was seeing someone else, and they found out and some things happened. So many stories were told. But the one story that has never been told is the truth. And we still to this day don't know what happened to him. Now his little boy lives without his father. A mother lives without her son. A father lives without his son. A family doesn't have their family member. I will never believe that he hung himself. I will never believe that. And especially for the simple fact that he went shopping earlier that night to buy his mama, who he loved. He loved his mother and father dearly. That's why he lived next door to them. He loved them so much. And they all supported each other. He loved his sisters so very much. And they lived close by. If something was going on, he would have called one of his sisters for sure. I know he would have. But for him to be found with a loose rope, and the girl saying she didn't touch his body and nobody else touched his body, I don't know why police didn't investigate that more. But no investigation has ever went on. I've had people that I went to school with who knew all of us come tell me different stories that they heard from the people that lived in the home with him. But again, nothing has ever come from any of it. It's really exhausting when you're losing so many people you love and you can't get justice for any of them. And every death looks suspicious. But the police don't want to investigate. Because, oh, well, they didn't like that person. Or, oh, he wasn't important enough. Or, oh, he was on drugs. Or, oh, he was an alcoholic. Or, this or that. And you're supposed to investigate. If it looks suspicious, you're supposed to investigate. But they don't. And they do this to this day in these towns. In North Carolina. North Carolina has got the worst judicial system and investigation teams that I've ever seen. I've been to a few places. I ain't been all over the world. Okay? I've never even been the farthest north I've been is Ohio, from from the Carolinas. But I have never seen a judicial system as shitty as North Carolina's. It's one of these towns to where you could rape, beat, and hurt your wife or children, and as long as your papa is a judge, you're okay. Or as long as your daddy knows this guy or knows that guy or the DA, they can get you out of trouble, and they will. And nobody does or says anything to stop it. It's been this way for years. It's been this way, and it'll be this way until new people come in and get these old folks out. And I don't mean old in age. I mean old in the way they run things. Get them out and bring a new way, an updated, better way of doing things to the Carolinas. Because it's messed up. Now, on to the next one. Doctors. The doctors in the Carolinas, they will shell out. Now, they've tightened up a little bit, not much, but they will shell out prescriptions like candy. Even when the patient gets arrested for selling drugs or, robbing a pharmacy or whatever it may be, the doctor will still write that person the medicine, the pain pills, Xanax, whatever it is. People doctor hop so much in the Carolinas. And Florida's bad for it too, from what I hear. America has a huge problem with drugs and with opioids. And with drugs coming from Mexico, we have a huge problem with drugs coming from other countries, not just Mexico, but other places. But it hasn't been stopped. And our government and our police forces, our police departments are making bank off of it, between arresting them and taking the evidence and taking the vehicles, raiding the home and taking all the evidence, arresting drug dealers and getting them to narc on other drug dealers and paying them off, paying the narcs and getting the narcs, to do whatever dirty business they want to do. We have police officers and investigators in the Carolinas who have been busted with drugs themselves and gotten out of it. We have had some very high up people with some serious allegations and get away with it. And one of the worst ones that I've seen was Senator R.C. Souls. We're going to do a whole video about R.C. Souls shortly. I might do that one this evening. But if you don't know, R.C. Souls was a senator in North Carolina. And he was a lawyer. He was a big lawyer in Tabor City, North Carolina. We seen him everywhere. He was one of the grungiest, vile, crooked ass people I ever met in my life. If you hired him or was appointed him as a lawyer and you go to his office, you couldn't even get seen because he would have all these boys who he was having sex with ahead of you, and they would go in and do dirty deeds for his practices, for his work. That sounds crazy, right? And you think I'm lying, right? Go look up R.C. Souls allegations, North Carolina. Look up R.C. Souls shoots a guy, shot a guy in the leg. Go look up R.C. Souls and anything dealing with him. Look up on YouTube, and stuff will pop up on YouTube about it. But you see our governor, our president, Congress, nobody's ever done anything about him. He has hundreds, probably thousands of boys that he was either molesting, having sexual relations with, giving them money for sex, buying sex from them so they could go buy their drugs or pay their bills or whatever they would do with the money. How do I know this? We're fixing to get into that. So I have a good friend. He used to be strung out really bad, and he was on everything from crack, coke, everything, anything he gets his hands on. One day, I see him at the store, and I asked him if he needed a ride, and he said, yeah, will you take me by R.C. Souls' office? I'm like, the lawyer? He's like, yeah, Senator R.C. Souls, the lawyer. I'm like, okay. He said, he's my lawyer. I said, you ain't been to jail? You ain't been to court. Why are you going to his office for? He said, I got to get some money. I said, for what? He said, pay some bills and to get some dope. I said, you need to leave that mess alone and quit. It's ever since I got clean, I went to the whole lecture. I do that. I'm sorry, but I do. And talking about how I feel so much better since I got clean, but how these drugs, these pain pills and alcohol affected my body and gave me a lot of health problems. So I gave him the whole lecture about that and how it messes your body up, your brain up, because it does. It messes your heart up, everything. So we go through all that. We get to the office. He says, wait out here. I said, how long are you going to be? He said, it might be a little while, but just wait, and I'll give you $150. I said, how are you going to give me $150? You don't have a dollar in your name. He said, just wait, baby, I'll be right back. I sit out there for 2 hours. Okay, I go to the store, I go to McDonald's, I come back. This time I pull around back behind the office, where there used to be like a little, not a parking area right behind it, but like right there. And I could see the back of the building, where there used to be this other little building. And I seen RC, my friend, and another boy who is currently in jail walking from out the office into another building. And I'm like, where is he going with them in there? That's not the office. So I pulled back around front eventually because I had to go get cigarettes because, of course, I smoked back then a lot. And once I pull back up, my friend is walking out with a big smile on his face. He gets in the car. He's like, what you want to do? Where you want to go? He gives me $200. I said, what did you do? Like, how did you get this money from him? He said, you don't want to know. I said, I can handle it. I've been through some shit. You know me. I can handle it. Just tell me. I'm not going to judge you. I've never judged you for anything else you did. I ain't about to start now. I know you. Just tell me. He says he wanted to see me spank another guy with the belt. I said, so he paid you to spank another guy. He said he wanted to see me slap him, spank him, oral sex, and different things. I thought it was, at first I'm like, I've heard these rumors. Because I had heard these rumors about RC before. Several guys that I went to school with, high school with, told me that they started having sex with RC when they were in their teens. But I never actually seen it or had talked to anybody one-on-one about it. So I'm like, what? So that's real? All these rumors are true? Like, people aren't lying about it? And he's like, yeah, it's true. Here you go. And he gave me the $200 or whatever. He's like, where do you want to go? So we go to Walmart, we go shopping. He had $4,000 in cash. I said, how did you, $4,000? Jeez, Lou, what did y'all do in there? He come out of Walmart, he bought clothes, bought me some clothes. I'm like, keep your money, don't blow it all. I don't want you to have to go back doing that stuff again. He said, I'm fine with what I do. Okay, do you, boo. Do you, boo. I'm not one to judge. Do you. I took him back to where his mama stayed at. I dropped him off. After went and got her some groceries, brought him back, dropped him off. Didn't see him for about a week. Okay, so about 5-6 days go by. Another friend of mine, she has a lawyer too. I'm like, oh, y'all's getting him for a lawyer, ain't you? She's like, yep. So I take her to her court date in Tabor City at this little rinky-dink building. Then she has to go back to his office to talk to him. She comes out and has a check. I'm like, where do you get? I thought you were paying him. How are you getting a check from him? She said, I needed my light bill paid. What? Why is he paying your light bill? He's your lawyer. You got a settlement or something coming? No. He has sex with my boyfriend. What? I said, girl, what? You got to start over. Tell me what is going on here. So at this point, I really start to try to investigate. I made 2 reports. Of course, the police department in Columbus County, North Carolina, they don't want to hear the shit because they don't care. I made 2 reports telling them I keep hearing this man is buying sex. He's paying for sex. That's illegal. He's having sex with underage boys. He's having sex with people in his office at his home. Well, sometime later, we see on the news, R.C. Souls shoots a man. I'm like, oh, shit's going down. He done shot a guy. R.C. claimed that some random guy tried to break in his house for no reason. That was a lie. So as this guy was trying to break in his house, R.C. claimed he shot at him. He shot the guy in the leg. Well, come to find out, that weren't true at all. For whichever one that was going to see R.C., the dude went with him there. So it was like 2 dudes that went to R.C.'s house. Well, the guy who was trying to get the money, R.C. didn't want to give him the money, and he was like, y'all need to go home. Well, R.C. comes out with his gun and shoots the dude. R.C. claims self-defense. The other guys claim, no, he told us to come over. So I don't know. Police kind of went with R.C.'s theory because R.C. never spent time in jail for it. He got away with it. Now, later on, this girl that I know, she dates the guy who was shot. And I asked her about it. I was like, so what are they going to do to R.C. for shooting him? Are they going to do anything? She was like, no. Matter of fact, R.C.'s paying us off with a settlement. I'm like, really? So he had to pay that guy off. So who was in the wrong here if he's paying that guy off? After R.C. talked all that junk, and all these people were talking all that junk about the dude, it was a lie. So later on, another guy that I went to school with, he's actually in jail. That's the one that's in jail right now. He was arrested. He always used R.C. as a lawyer. He comes out and tells people, yes, I've had sex with R.C. for years. I've always had sex with R.C. He gives me money for drugs. He knows what the money's for. It started back when I was 13, 14 years old, and I'm not the only one he does it with. I questioned this person at the courthouse one day, and I asked him point blank, I said, are you being honest? How do you know he's having sex with underage boys? He said, because I am one. I was one. I said, how old were you when you started? He said, I was 14, almost 14 years old. Actually, when we had physical intercourse, I was 14. And it went on from there like that. He said he's beat me. He likes to watch men beat little boys up. Spank them, punch them, slap them, masturbation, oral sex. He likes all that stuff. Well, R.C. died a couple weeks ago. Now more stories are coming out. There's a video on Facebook. They deleted it. Facebook deleted it for whatever reason. And I hope this video don't get deleted because every time we talk about celebrities, YouTubers, or senators, influencers of any kind, my videos get shadow banned, deleted, where nobody can see them. Or I get shadow banned to where my name won't be suggested. I don't even get paid by YouTube. Therefore, my videos should be up. I'm not being racist. I'm not being, sexist, nothing like that. I should not be banned or shadow banned. There are people like Tracy Barbie who are on TikTok making racist videos, saying she's admitting she's racist. She says she hates black people. She should be banned. I shouldn't be shadow banned. There were predators like Nathan Larson who were admitting that they wanted to have sex with little kids. He wasn't banned. He had a full-blown YouTube page or Facebook page, whatever it was. Dobby Vanity's still on Instagram making money. Dobby Vanity's still selling merch on websites making money. He still has YouTube pages making money. How has he not been banned? Let's get off that for a minute. I get worked up about that shit. Excuse me. So R.C. died a couple weeks ago. He was 80-something years old. Now, back when all this was going on, when I found out about it, he was in his 70s. Now, the people that I've talked to recently have said that they've always known it since back in the early 90s. They've known him to be this way. But people were too scared to come forward because, again, he was a senator and he was a lawyer. If you're just a small town person like me, you can't fight a senator and a lawyer who has friends. They have friends in high places. Again, Columbus County is the kind of county that if your daddy or your papa or your grandma is the friends with a lawyer or the DA or friends with a judge or friends with a police detective, friends with a sheriff deputy, you're screwed. Because they're going to work their magic and make you end up either in jail or paying an ass load of money. Just like what happened to me with my one charge. And then they friggin' charged me with possession and trafficking, and they didn't even have no drugs. They never, the police department, the drug detectives, nobody ever got drugs off of my possession. But yet they charged me with possession, trafficking, selling, maintaining a place to dwell. What the fuck? But that's how it goes in Columbus County, North Carolina, if you won't snitch. Or if you don't have a lawyer friend or a sheriff deputy as a best friend or a drug detective as a best buddy. But if my daddy was the DA or the drug detective, I could do whatever the fuck I wanted. Because that's how it is there. I can't stand that the judicial system in Columbus County is so crooked and evil. Just evil. Just like Columbus County, they just had a black man that they have had in prison for 20 years, y'all. DNA proved he's innocent. You know, when they went to go look at his case, you know where they found his case and the evidence? In the attic of the fucking city hall, where it had been for years. Because they hadn't been trying to look at his case. They never tried to help that man. All they did was say, you're guilty, lock him up. No evidence at all. And that man lost 20 years of his life. And just now, this year, 2021, he's been released. After fighting tooth and nail. And because he's black. You know that. It's because he's black. That's why they did it to him. Columbus County is one of the most racist county I've ever seen in North Carolina. I was thirsty. But I'm sure there are counties like that in every state. But if you want to find crooked stories, just look up Columbus County, North Carolina. You'll find an ass load. Look up Brunswick County, North Carolina. I have a friend, an online friend who lives in Florida. She stays in Georgia and Florida, back and forth, and she says that it's corrupt as hell there too. I have another friend, named Deshaun, and that is his real name. He will be on the channel eventually. He's fine with me talking about him. He stays in Mississippi, and he has told me some fucked up crooked stories about Mississippi. And it's just like Columbus County, North Carolina. It is vile and racist. Oh my word. Even now, it's racist. And the drugs are horrible. And let me tell you guys something, okay? Y'all can sit here all day long and try to tell me that, because I've had so many people in my comments try to tell me, well, the drugs are coming through the black communities and the ghetto communities. You're wrong. Because guess what? When I was getting high, it was white people that was selling me the drugs. It was white doctors who were giving out the drugs. It was white people who were bringing the meth into the county. I never even knew that we had meth in that county until a friend of mine got busted with it. Because I've never been on meth. I didn't know about ice, meth, or I don't know if it's the same thing. I don't know. Crack. I didn't know any of that was in that county until she got busted with meth. And she's white. And she told me, I said, where in the hell, how did you get out of that situation? She's dating a lawyer. He's married. And guess what? She got the meth from her lawyer boyfriend, who is white. So don't come at me with, oh, the drugs come from all the black communities. No, they don't. No, they don't. Because every drug that I bought came from a white person, except for one time. And you know, the one black person that I bought weed from didn't want to sell it to me. Nope. Did not want to sell it to me. So go away with that shit. I'm not saying that, this race does this or that race does that. I'm saying because I've gotten comments in the last month. People in my comments, haters hating on me in my videos. Okay. But they're trying to tell me that the black communities or ghetto communities are the reason we have so many drugs over here. No, fuck it ain't. They're not the ones bringing the mess into this country. Our government is the ones allowing that shit to happen. Let me tell you something. We don't control our borders. We don't control the import and the outports. We don't control the ports of the country either. We don't control what airplanes come in and out. We have no control over that. Who does? Our government does. Our Congress does. So they have more control over that than we do. And let me tell you, again, from my own experience, every time I bought pills, it was from a white person who was getting them from a doctor, or from a friend who was going to a doctor. A white doctor. Let's get off of that, though. Those people had me pissed off in the comments, y'all. I went off the other day. I went the fuck off. Because this one girl, she's racist, for one thing. She does not like when people like me defend black people. She doesn't like when people like me defend transgender people, or gay people. You know, she had a comment that she made about me being bisexual, and she says, how can you be bisexual? You're either gay or you're straight. And I said, all I know is I like both, genders. I don't know what to tell you. She was like, well, then you have to be either gay or straight. I said, no, you don't. Bisexual is bisexual. You don't have to be gay or straight. There are many different, genders out here, many different sexualities out here, many different things that you can be, live by, do, whatever. And she kept telling me, why are you so gung-ho on defending black communities and this and that? And they're ghetto. I'm like, have you been watching Tracy Barbie videos? Is that what this is? Because no, it is not. And then she went on to say, it's people bringing it from Mexico. I'm like, now I'm not saying that drugs don't come from Mexico, because I know a lot of drugs come from Mexico. I know that, y'all. I know that. But a lot of drugs also come in from ships, airplanes, people going up to Canada, coming back in. Y'all, the border control, if they are working with you, and I don't know why people can't believe that there are crooked border patrol police, crooked correctional officers, crooked judges, crooked police officers, crooked drug detectives, probation officers. There's crookedness in everything. Prisons. How do you think the drugs get into the prison? Because a correctional officer allows it. Otherwise, it wouldn't get in. There would be no way for a drug to get in unless a correctional officer lets it get in. The prisoners ain't going out nowhere. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. But she was talking about that and how the drugs come from Mexico, and I said they come from everywhere. There are people who are flying their private planes into America also. There are people who are coming through ships, boats. It's not just from Mexico. But again, what do you do, I try to fight every battle that I can fight, and I try to defend everybody that I can. And you're going to have a hater. There's always going to be somebody who, isn't going to agree with what you believe in, But I love everybody. I love every race. I love every gender. I love everyone. And I'm not going to allow any kind of racist, homophobic, transphobic hate in my comments. If you want to talk junk about me, talk junk about me. But not that. I'm not tolerating that. And when she started popping off with the transphobic nastiness on my Vanessa video, I have a video where this person named Vanessa talks about how Samantha is not a woman, how she's actually a man, and she misgenders Samantha over and over and over. And this same hater keeps saying, but she's telling the truth, and Samantha's not a woman, and this and that, and you're this and you're that. And I'm like, no, you're transphobic. Get out my comments. I'm going to defend my transgender community. The transgender community and the black community and the gay community, the LGBT community, they have all been through enough. It is time to step up and support them. The black community has been through enough. Support them. I think that's why Tracy Barbie videos piss me off so much, because she is so racist towards black people. It makes me so mad. I hope YouTube doesn't delete this video, but they probably will. I don't know. Anyways, it's been like an hour and a half, so I'm going to hop off of here, you guys. If you want more stories, let me know in the comments. Oh, and I made an Instagram, Bisexual Hillbilly. Look me up. I'm going to try to start doing some stories on there. I have a TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. All of it is Bisexual Hillbilly. And I'm going to try to link it up. I got to learn how to do that. copy pasted or something, I don't know. So now y'all can kind of see why I'm so like anxious and jumpy, and my OCD and Tourette's is acting up and stuff. You can see I'm kind of giving you a little bit of history, stuff that I've dealt with or been through, but there's a lot more. And I'm going to get into my past too. But I want you guys to know that I'm here for you. I support you. I'm here. And if people are bringing you down, if people are being very nasty to you, if people are hating on you, you know, if you got somebody in your life that's abusing you, I'm here. Come to my DMs. Find me on Twitter. Find me on Instagram. Find me on TikTok. Find me here. Comment with your email. We'll talk. I'm here for you. Or if you just want to say, hey, I'm here. You're not alone. And if you're recovering or you're trying to be sober, I'm here. If you need advice, I'm here. If you need support, counseling, I'm here. If you want me to start reading Bible quotes, I'll read it. If you want me to read, do like a live NA. YouTube won't let me do live because I don't have 1,000 followers or subscribers, so hopefully we'll get that soon and I can start doing live videos. TikTok won't let me do live because I don't have 1,000 followers. Hopefully as soon as I get them, we can start doing like the Q&As and the live, group talks and chats and stuff, and where I can talk to you guys. And I want to do some live NA meetings. I think that would be really, really cool, especially during COVID because a lot of the groups are closed right now. We can talk about anything you guys want to talk about. Hopefully I'll get the subscribers though, but right now I don't have enough. I need to check Instagram. How many followers do you have to have on Instagram to go live? Anyways, I love you guys.